Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow citizens, we stand here today in the courtyard of City Hall to raise one of the most important issues that affects our city. It is time to have a profound conversation, done in a respectful and considered manner that considers the long-term implications of our actions or inactions. This campaign offers the opportunity to have that deeper conversation, the way that we live together and interact with each other is important. It is easy for politicians to propose short-term solutions, but we need to have long-term thinking. Do we want to have our city look like, what do we want our city to look like in 20, 30, or 40 years? We have a collective responsibility to make the necessary structural changes so our children are not dealing with our unfinished business. This election campaign is one of the most important in a generation. Let us have the courage to say the truth. We live in a divided city. The city, though, is not divided only based on race, but also economical, poverty, color, disability, and even religious. This division is holding us back. I understand that there are people who are afraid of walking downtown. They are afraid of being in those dead zones. But Band-Aid solutions do not help deal with actually what is occurring within our souls. I know of good mothers who live in the suburbs with children, who care about their community, who care about their children. But they are afraid to go to the Health Sciences Center, because when they go to the Health Sciences Center with their children at night, they're afraid something's going to happen in the parkade. And this fear is not an unreal fear. This fear is not perceived. It is a true fear that they hold within their hearts. They are afraid of those others, those people who are different from them. When I walk downtown, and I see those people on Portage and Main, what I see are my brothers and sisters. I see my mothers, my fathers, my uncles, and my aunts. I see people who are like myself, and I see myself in them. That could have been me as a young man, and that could be me today. Growing up, I knew what it's like to grow up in abject poverty, from very humble beginnings. To know what it's like not to have food on the table when you are young, in the morning to go to school with no breakfast, to have no lunch. Then to come home and there be no supper. And then you have to go out and deliver newspapers in order to make $5 to $10 to go to the 7-Eleven to buy bread and milk. And you bring that bread and milk home for your younger brother and your sick mother who has mental illness. The people we see, those people, have suffered greatly throughout their lives. Are we to judge them? Are we to judge them harshly and say that they are not to be among us, that they should be banished to somewhere else, that they do not have the privilege of walking on the same streets that each and every one of us do each and every day? There are times in world history when we have said these things, that we need to get rid of these people. But that is not the path that I believe Winnipeg is about, nor should it take. It is not about constructing a fortress Winnipeg. Because when I look at those people, my people, there for the God of grace go I. We have the ability in this election to change our common history, the course of our history of this city. And the city, the municipal government, the mayor has a role to play in how we go about doing that. And it comes down to city planning. I know this subject perhaps does not lend itself well to this subject, but how you plan a city affects its long-term history. I have a former student, a young single mother who was a student of mine at the University of Manitoba. She was on welfare with 2 young children. She decided that she wanted to go into nursing, and she is an intelligent young lady, full of potential, full of the ability, full of life. So she needs to drop her children off, and because she lives in the north of the city, at 9 o'clock in the morning at school. The bus ride is 1 hour and 15 minutes. By the time she gets to university, it's 10:15, if it's not snowing, if the streets have been plowed properly by the city, if the city council has done its job, ensuring that basic services are there. I say to her, well, it's a little late to start university at that time. You need to come earlier to take a full course load, to maintain your student aid. You need to move down to the Fort Garry campus. I can't afford those rents down there, Robert. It's cheaper up in the north of the city. Then you need to put your children in daycare. I'm a single mother and I've just gotten off welfare, Robert. I can't afford that. Can you ask someone in your community or a relation to look after your children before so you can come to school by 9 o'clock? Robert, I look after my children. I trust myself with my children. I know what goes on sometimes in those communities, in our communities, and so do you. So because she does not have access to a public transportation system which is effective, we have condemned her to a life of poverty. And so she sits today on welfare, and her children are more likely to end up on the streets and be those people, my people, our people. This province was founded upon a vision. In 1869, the year leading up to the foundation of Manitoba, John Bruce, the president of the provisional government, with the secretary of the provisional government, Louis Riel, stood together with 12 English men from English parishes and 12 men from French parishes, and established a constitution which held as its foundation the idea that no matter your creed nor your color, whether you were French, Métis, English, Scottish, or even Indian, we all have the right to choose the form of government that respects our values and enables each and every one of us to build the life that we are able through hard work for our families and communities, free from oppression. Over time, we have moved away from this ideal, the ideal of a society which was open and free. We moved to a society which saw the imprisonment and oppression of Japanese people, Ukrainians, Germans, and Aboriginal peoples, peoples of color, newcomers. And even today, we are not respectful of various religions. But we have grown as a society. We are doing better. But we must continue to ensure that all citizens not only can have the tools in order to make a better life for themselves, but they can access those tools, like that young mother in the north of the city who can't access the education system. It is easy for us in the suburbs, in other parts of the city, to say, I pay my taxes. Why are those individuals not doing what they should be doing, getting on with it, doing like I did? But if you knew the life that they sometimes have led, you too might be crying, lying in the streets, living in despair. Why was I successful as a young man? What made it so that I did not end up on the streets? It was because of people who cared. Like a teacher of mine in high school, Mr. Duane Hendricks from Calgary, a music teacher, who asked nothing of me, not a thing of me, not any money, because I had no money to give him. He asked just that I be myself. And he gave me his love, his care, his protection. He gave me His Spirit. He was a father to me, though He did not have to be. He fed me. He informed me. He gave me a better life. It was not simply going down and serving soup to the poor once a week, though that is important for a mayor and a leader of a community to do that, to demonstrate that they are connected. But it was actually building a profound connection to one individual and saying, this individual, I am going to make a difference in their life. In 20, 30 years, do we still wish to be talking about these issues of why certain people are successful and others are not? We must ensure that our children do not inherit the city as we have inherited this city. We need to ensure that all agencies, police services, governments, chiefs, leaders of our communities, schools, businesses, and especially all citizens are working together in united common cause for a better city. Leadership. Leadership for a mayor is not about looking after a small group of people or a small segment of the population. It is not about the roads or infrastructure which define a city. It is about the people who define a city. As your mayor, it does not matter to me where you live. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter your background, whether you're working poor, middle class, or rich, or who your mother of your family was. It doesn't matter if you are from St. James, the Maples, Garden City, River Park South, Tuxedo, St. Boniface, whether you are Francophone English. At the end of the day, the mayor of this city must represent everyone, each and every one of us. I will be the mayor of everyone, of all citizens. Let this city stand united in common cause for the future. Let our grandchildren look back upon this day in 2014 and say they made the right decisions. They made those decisions which were hard, but they made the good decisions that led us into a better future. This was the moment that the city began to change. Let us change not only what is in our mind, but what is in our hearts. Tapwe, akwe kitwam, merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Malasat.